Our first guest tonight is an Oscar and Emmy Award-winning actress you know from films such as Marriage Story and Jurassic Park and shows like Big Little Lies and Enlightened. She is also the co-author of the new book, Honey, Baby Mine, A Mother and Daughter Talk Life, Death, Love, and Banana Pudding, which is now available everywhere. Please welcome back to the show, Laura Dern, everybody. Genuinely love talking to you, and what I love about this book is I feel like I'm talking with you when you read it, because this is a conversation between you and your mother.
Yes.
And this is the kind of conversation, I guess, that you guys had never had together before. What was the sort of catalyst to approaching having these conversations together?
So my amazing mother, Diane Ladd, who is such an extraordinary actor and been, you know, the light of my life, got a health diagnosis. She unknowingly, in her neighborhood, were surrounding farms and they were using pesticides and spraying without notification. And when she discovered there was this lung disease from scarring from the pesticide exposure, they said, your mom likely has 3 to 6 months to live. And there was no medicine or support, so they said. So they hoped that by walking, she might get more strength and expand her lungs. And so she really didn't want to do this, let's be clear. She said, I hate walking. I had to walk 10 miles to school when I was little. Don't make me walk more. And at the time, she was on oxygen. It was very difficult. And she loves telling stories. So I said, I'll tell you what, we're gonna walk each day a little bit further and we're gonna talk. And I'm gonna record it in my phone and your grandchildren will have it. And as my mother says, you know, when you think you're gonna go, you tell each other everything. But the gift of the experience was we discovered, as close as we are, and we're actors who've worked together on films. She was also in Enlightened with me and David Lynch's Wild at Heart and Rambling Rose. We had spoken about so little. We had skirted from the deepest and most heartbreaking of moments in our life. And I never asked her things like, what's the first movie you ever saw? Why did you want to become an actor? And this was the discovery of an intimacy we don't share enough with our closest of loved ones.
And then the real happy ending as well is, health-wise, she's okay?
Also, to quote my mom, this occurred at the beginning of 2019, and she will tell you, 4 years later, I've done 2 movies, a TV show, and wrote a book. But she does believe that the walking did, in fact, give her more energy, and that the talking and the healing and us loving each other was a major healing, and that she didn't believe doctors. She was like, they're practicing medicine, Laura. So she's like, I'm gonna get several other opinions, and she believes in alternative options and worked very hard to be here.
Well, I'm so happy she's here. One thing that must have been very surreal is, so you record her on these walks, and then obviously you transcribe it into a book, and then, which is a great idea, obviously, because you have a couple of, you know, actors who've written a book, you record the audiobook. So now you're back in the booth, basically re-recording a conversation you've already had. Were there ever times where you thought, oh, now that I'm getting another chance at this story, I'd love to...
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you had 2 actresses, so it felt like doing a 1-act play or something, but it was so personal. And in the moment, we were sharing everything. And the only reason we ended up doing this was as we started sharing our story, it was inspiring friends, my children, people, all different relationships to communicate more empathically, and knowing that you don't necessarily solve anything or agree, but you ask the questions and you hear each other. But once we were in there and we heard some of the responses, there is a story about my mother taking my son for a haircut when I was out of town, and I'm still livid, and we did the audio recording, and at the end of it, I was like, you are so wrong. I can't believe you did that. And we got in a huge fight. We needed to take 5,
well,
guys.
it must be interesting, because the first time you're listening, you're thinking, well, she's only going to be around for another 3 months, and now she's fine. You're like, I have a different answer.
That's what she says. She was like, wait a minute. Why did I go through that whole story with her?
You know, one of the things, you guys, your first film was a film your mother was in, and Martin Scorsese directed it. And an interesting thing is your mom talks about how she had anxiety when you told her that you wanted to share the same profession that she had.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've had nothing, you know, I shouldn't say nothing. I had a lot of anxiety in my career. I've had so much more joy than anxiety, but if my kids said they wanted to do it, I would have the same thing.
Right.
Weirdly, I would think about the downside more than the upside.
Yeah.
Was that the first time she had shared with you that she was worried when you said you wanted this path?
I mean, at the very beginning, she was very reticent, but I was a kid. I mean, I did played an extra in my mom's movie, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, with Scorsese, and I was a 7-year-old. But I fell in love with this, for me, incredible team sport. It was the first time I'd sort of seen a team sport at work. 150 people come together to make one thing, as you all well know on this incredible show. You know, it feels so good when it works, right? Doesn't really, but anyway. But this always works.
Yeah, of course.
So anyway, just so we're clear.
We keep thinking we're going to have a night where something falls flat, but yeah,
no. But it's, you know, it's so invigorating, and she saw my passion. But as you said, you know, she also saw the pitfalls, especially as a young girl, of entering an industry where she couldn't always be protective of me. So she tried to talk me out of it, but it didn't work.
And there's a lovely story about, as an 11-year-old, you took steps to further your own career at a party.
Yes, it's so ridiculous. But it is true that I was 11 at my mom's friend, the actor Bo Hopkins' house, and I went up to an agent, and I said, my mom won't help me, and I want to be an actor. Will you let me audition for you?
It's the most Hollywood thing to bring your kid to a party and be like, now if I catch you talking to agents.
Yeah, stay away from the agents.
I have a lot more questions. We will be right back with more from Laura Dern.